Welcome, welcome, welcome. Once again, we on the Positive Deposit podcast where we transform minds and change lives. And I'm so excited tonight because I have a fellow bison with me who is a breast cancer, I'm not even going to say survivor, a conqueror. And, I love her energy. I was watching her journey throughout the whole entire process. And I'm so appreciative that she allowed us to walk the journey with her through Instagram, through Facebook, um, and so we're definitely going to talk about that today. And so I have the pleasure of having Erica Easter on the show with me, and so I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right into this courageous conversation.
All righty. Well, my name is Erica Easter. I was about to give the Howard introduction.
Hey,
Senior so-and-so major. No. So my name is Erica Easter. I live in the DC area. I am 30, late 30s. A mother, a fabulous, fast. Can I curse?
you can.
I'm a fabulous, fast-ass auntie. You can bleep it if you need to.
Okay.
Also, a sex educator and co-host of the podcast called The Turn On, and was diagnosed with breast cancer back in December of 2019.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining us today. So we're going to get right into it. And so when were you diagnosed, and what was going on during that time?
So my family lives in Missouri. So I went to Missouri to visit my family, came back from Thanksgiving. And, I'm one of those like type A anal type of people. So like I got home, I unpacked everything. I was like, I'm gonna take a hot shower and lay in bed.
Right.
Shower, laying in bed. And I don't know if I was like feeling myself up or what. Like I wish I could say that I was one of those people that like diligently did self-exams and that kind of thing. But I wasn't. But I was laying in bed, felt myself up and felt a lump. And I was like, this don't feel right. So my best friend, God bless her, she lives upstairs. So I literally like threw on some pants. Feel this. And she was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so we felt the lump. And I was just, I'm like 30. I was 38 at the time. So I'm like, hey, this can't be, this is nothing. This is no big deal. I had actually had my annual exam with my OBGYN like a month before, and they do an exam and she didn't feel anything. So I'm like, must be a cyst. It must be something, no big deal. So I called my doctor, and I will say, like, I hear a lot of times about Black women saying that they're not being heard by their doctors or anything like that. My doctor was phenomenal. I went to her. I told her that I had an issue, and she was like, okay. She felt it. She was like, yep, it's a lump. Might be a cyst. I don't think it's a big deal, but here's an order for a mammogram and ultrasound, and also here's a referral to a breast surgeon. She said, because even if it's nothing, I know you're going to want that extra layer of, reassurance. So make your appointment for your mammogram and ultrasound, and then also reach out to this breast surgeon just to kind of, however this shakes out, you're going to want to talk to him. So I did that, and I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Fine. I did that and went to the hospital. How did you want me? Okay, so went to the hospital, and had the mammogram and the ultrasound. And it was weird. I'm sitting in there, doing all of this, and I'm with like all these old ladies and walkers. You can tell that they were, like doing their annual exam. And here I am, just like, this ain't real, no big deal. I had an early morning appointment because I was like, I'll knock this out and then go back to the office, no big deal. Yeah. And after the mammogram and ultrasound, this lady came in and she was like, well, we're really concerned, so we're gonna do a biopsy. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, so you can go get some lunch and come back in an hour. And I was like, wait, hold, huh? So
that was the shock factor.
I was like, wait, what? And she was like, yes, no. And so at this point, I literally crumbled. This woman was a woman that was just like scheduling and giving me a free parking coupon. And I was like, and like crying in this lady's lap. It was a mess, but thankfully she was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And I got my biopsy done later that day. And what was really scary to me is that the woman that was doing the biopsy, the radiation tech or radiologist, she was kind of talking to me like I already had cancer. You know, like it was one of those things where she's like, don't worry, women live with cancer and they live great lives. And I was like, bitch, you supposed to be telling me like, don't worry, you know, but she was on like, you got it, you're gonna be fine tip. And so I lost it. And that was on a Thursday. And so they say it takes like 2 to 3 business days. So then I had to go that whole weekend, like with cancer looming over your head. Yeah. And thankfully I say that I was blessed every single turn of cancer because I work in a very small office with 3 other Black women who are like family. So I got a call that Tuesday morning from the radiation tech, and she was like, unfortunately, my suspicions were confirmed. It's cancer. And literally, like, all I could do was walk into my boss's office, and all 3 of them circled up. They held my hands, they prayed with me, they cried with me, sent me home for the day. You know, so it was like, I feel like I got most of the shock out the week before when they were like biopsy, yada, yada, yada. But it was still a lot. And I was blessed to have good people in my life at that moment to kind of help me absorb the shock.
Man, so that's crazy. But I want to take it back. You mentioned something about how your doctor pretty much kind of set everything up and prepared everything. How important is it to have not only a good relationship, but more open and transparency when you're dealing with medical professionals? Because sometimes you don't get that. Like, you got the whole package, you know? I know for me, it wasn't that thorough. So, you know, how did you build that relationship with your doctor? Or is that just how those doctors and, you know, GBYN or whatever just kind of operate?
So I am the type of person, I pay a lot of money for health insurance, and so I use it. Like, I went to my dermatologist once, and she was like, ma'am, you just need to put on lotion. Like, you need to moisturize a little bit more. Like, I go to the doctor, and my doctors know that. And it's not that I'm a hypochondriac or anything, but it's like, I pay a lot of money for this, and I am blessed to be able to have this. So I'm going to utilize it fully to its fullest extent. So my doctors already know that I am a very comprehensive, like, I'm always on time for my routine exams and that kind of thing. So even when, like I said, I got diagnosed around Thanksgiving. So it was like during the Thanksgiving Christmas holiday where everybody's kicked into vacation mode. Yeah. And so even getting in with the breast surgeon, because I made the appointment with the breast surgeon the same day I made the appointment for the mammogram and ultrasound. Right. But that wasn't until like after Christmas. Okay. And so once I got the diagnosis, I was like, oh, hell no, y'all gonna get this up out of me immediately. We gonna know what's going on. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm putting on a hardcore press. Like, I called my doctor. I was like, look, this was as soon as he can get me in. You said you know him, prove it. You know, I called the doctor's office, and thankfully there was a Black woman that works at the front desk, and she was just mad cool. And I call her every morning, like, do y'all have any cancellations? Yeah, and so, it, you know, because I just like, I hustle in so many parts of my life. I gotta hustle when it comes to my health. And thankfully people listened to me, and I had like really good people, really good doctors, and the front desk staff. I say all the time, make friends with the front desk staff, because that's, my doctor will tell you all the time, I don't know what I'm doing. I go where she tells me to go. Yeah. So I just made it a point to like really, you know, hustle and make sure that I'm on top of this, you know? And so essentially my doctors know that when it comes to me, you might be different with other patients. I don't think they are, but when it comes to me, I don't play. Yeah, and I mean, I think that you said it right there. You're staying on top of it.
you're not just going in, letting the doctor just tell you whatever, you are staying on top of it. And it's so important. And I said this, I've always challenged doctors, because of the information that I had. I'm like, are you sure we're supposed to be doing this? Because I read somewhere ... or there was a study. So I'm glad that you not only pay good for a good insurance, thank God you have good insurance, but you challenge the doctors and you make sure they know that you're not playing no games. But the thing that you said that a lot of people don't realize is that those front desk receptionists can make or break your experience in the doctor's office, whether you may get bumped up or they're like, oh, they gave me an attitude today. Nah, we'll wait.
Yeah. Like, oh, well, I'll put you in on his lunch break, like that kind of stuff, And so it has been, and I will also say, to touch on something you said, when you first get diagnosed or with anything, like you're dealing with the shock of like your mortality because you hear cancer and it's just like, oh my gosh. But also you are getting so much information thrown at you and you kind of got to like soak it up, and at the same time, make sure you're like, should I get a second opinion? Do I trust this doctor? Do I need to, and so like, even when I first got diagnosed, I ended up with a doctor that my OB suggested. Yeah. And typically I like to go to, Black doctors, Black women doctors, people of color, but I just ended up with a white breast surgeon, and my oncologist is Latinx. But even things were moving so fast. It was like, I kind of want to, I want to get a second opinion. I want to do this, but then it was just like, but I need to make moves immediately, Yeah. So that is one piece that I know a lot of people are like, oh, I did a second opinion. I did this, I did that. I didn't. And not that I regret it, but I do know that is a piece that I missed out on that a lot of people tend to do.
Yeah, and it's nothing wrong if you didn't get the second opinion, because like, even for me, that's what they said, like, go get a second opinion, go to the Philadelphia Cancer Center, and do all that. However, if you trust your doctor and you feel confident and you want to, just go ahead and move forward, it's A-okay. And so I'm glad you did that. Now, I know you went through both processes, because with breast cancer, you can either get the surgery or you can get radiation, get chemo, but you had to endure both.
I did the whole kit and caboodle.
How long was that treatment like?
I had the whole package.
Side effects of that treatment.
Okay, so when I initially got diagnosed, from what I understand, typically you get diagnosed and then they're able to like run tests on the cell sample to tell you what kind of cancer, what type of breast cancer it is, and also what stage you are, and they pull all this information. The samples that they got in my biopsy didn't have enough of the cancer cells in it to really give them a full picture of what everything was looking like. Right. So once I met with my breast surgeon, he definitely did the genetic testing to see if I had a gene that made me susceptible to breast cancer. Thank goodness I didn't, because I have lots of family members that could have, had to deal with it. So they did that, and then they did an MRI, which noticed that some of the cancer had traveled to some lymph nodes. Oh, wow. So because it was in my lymph nodes, my doctor was like, off the bat, you're going to have to do radiation, but you need to talk to an oncologist. Because, I went for a minute before actually even seeing an oncologist. I'm like, how does this work? But I met with my oncologist, and she said, we're going to have to wait and see what happens with what comes of the pathology from the breast surgery. Right. So they were like, initially, we're definitely going to do breast surgery. When you get diagnosed with cancer, you can either do a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. Lumpectomy is just they go in and take out the cancer. Okay. I am 38 years old. I am vain. My love language is nudes. So I'm like, you are not going to just take a chunk of this titty and leave me just, some women choose to, not I. So I was like, you're going to do a mastectomy. You're going to take it all off. And I like to match. Also, this one tried killing me. We ain't giving this one a chance to do that. So I had a double mastectomy.
Okay.
So they took both of them off. And then you didn't think he was going to get that from me. But anyway.
Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, like, I've heard it all. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
so it's okay. You know what I mean? So
I did a double mastectomy. And the way that they do it, there are a bunch of different types of ways to reconstruct your breast.
Yeah.
I haven't had given birth to kids, and so I didn't have a lot of extra stomach fat. They have some really cool technology in rebuilding your breast. I wasn't a candidate for that, so I ended up going with a not an immediate reconstruction, but they did tissue expanders. So they put, like, I call them Capri Sun pouches. I'm probably fucking it all up, but they're like these little tissue expanders. They're like little implants with like a little it's like a little metal thing in the top. Yeah. And literally I would go to my doctor and she'd like have this magnet and go boop, and that's the port, and take these big syringes and go and just fill them up to get your skin.
Like a Capri Sun. Boom.
Like a Capri Sun, exactly. so I have my Capri Sun pouches. So right after mastectomy, I had my Capri Sun pouches. They filled them up to the appropriate size.
Right.
And then they got the pathology, which said, hey girl, your cancer is grade 3. So I was only stage 1B, but I was grade 3, meaning that it was,
so let me ask you this.
Sorry.
What is the difference with like stages, like 1B, like stage 2? What are the A, B, C? Is it D? Does it go down the alphabet? Like,
no,
those that don't know.
I don't. So I know you have stages 1 through 4, and then I think it's like A and B.
Okay.
And so, and then they also have stage 0. And I know that there are women that get, that have mastectomies when they are stage 0. And it's like you have a bunch of precancerous cells.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you about that. But nonetheless, I'm stage 1B. It's stage 1 through 4. And it's a bunch of different criteria, because I literally kept asking, what stage am I? What stage am I?
Yeah.
And it took for me to meet with my oncologist for her to like put all this information into the computer and then spit out and say you're stage 1B. And it's based on like the size of it, where it is, how many lymph nodes has it traveled to. Like I said, I had a total of 9 lymph nodes removed, but only 2 had cancerous cells in them.
Oh wow.
So that was great.
Amazing. But it was amazing.
Yeah. So I was stage 1B. They did the surgery, put in my my tissue expanders, and then they realized that I was grade 3, which meant that my cancer was moving faster than they had expected. Because they were like, oh, we caught it super early, it's super small, you probably just need radiation. But considering my age, I'm a young tenderoni. My doctor was like, we need to do chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Chemo scared the shit out of me, like, no lie. Because you know.
Chemo is SOB.
Yeah. And so one of my younger sister's best friends has breast cancer. She's still fighting it. It's metastatic. Sorry. Anyway, so she had it, and she was like, "Oh, you'll be good. Don't worry. Just as long as you don't get the red devil, you'll be fine." I'm like,
"Oh, the red devil, that red bag, the red bag."
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And the reason why the red bag, just because I just had a flashback.
Yeah.
And what does it do to you? Because it puts your body on.
I was lucky. I would say that I was lucky that it didn't go. It wasn't horrible, but it definitely was on some. It was that bullshit. Like, it was that bullshit. That's the best thing I can say. So I did. I had to do a total of 8 rounds of chemotherapy. 8 rounds of chemotherapy. The first 4 were AC. It's short for some other stuff. Yeah. I don't know, but the red devil was a part of it.
Yep.
And then the last 4 were Taxol. I was very lucky that I lost my hair, but I always wore my hair short, so I still
worked out. Yeah, it worked out.
But so I lost my hair. I remember going to my doctor like, so when does the weight loss part of this journey begin? Like, y'all promised me new titties, got them. When am I going to lose some weight? Never lost weight. As a matter of all those steroids.
Yeah.
Bruh, I remember after my first chemo treatment, I woke up at like 2 a.m. and started frying fish and making mashed potatoes. Dang. My brother was like, what is wrong with you? I was like, I can't sleep and I'm hungry.
You hangry.
Angry, yeah. So I was very blessed in the sense that I didn't have like I was able to eat. I didn't lose my appetite. I was eating like a champ. I did deal with a little bit of neuropathy when I started doing Taxol.
Okay.
But I drank a shitload of water. I was like guzzling water to just kind of flush everything out of me. And then I started doing acupuncture, which was super helpful. And I still do acupuncture now, which helped with hot flashes. It helped with the neuropathy. It helped with making sure I could sleep.
Is that like with the needles?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, you was doing that Chinese techniques. Okay.
Yes. But also, and I try to be very open about this because no one told me this, but so I started, my first chemotherapy treatment was the Thursday before everything shut down in the DC area for COVID.
Oh, wow.
So not only am I going through like chemotherapy, but then I'm like sending my kid to school every day, hearing about COVID, and I'm like looking at him like, make sure you wash your hands, you know. But
right.
So it was like really like my biggest issue as I went through chemo was really a mental thing.
And I was just about to ask you, how did you sustain your mental, not only with everything that's going on and with the diagnosis, but now you got COVID.
Prozac, marijuana, and yeah, Prozac and weed. Like I ain't even gonna lie. Yeah. Like I remember I had because I've been doing therapy. I believe in therapy, especially Black people, especially Black women. Yeah. So I have an amazing therapist that I've been working with. And I remember I had a session.
Shout out to the therapist.
Shout out to the therapist. And I remember I had a session with her and I literally laid in bed and cried for 45 minutes straight. And that is not who I am. I mean, like, I hate when people are like, you're so strong. No, I'm just dealing with the shit life gave me. But at the same time, I'm not one of those people to just lay around crying. And she was like, maybe we should talk about medications. And it was the best thing that happened to me. And so I want people to recognize when you're going through chemo, your body is doing some crazy shit. Like my brain was doing a funky Watusi. And I needed something to help calm everything down. And so I was like, I'm open about it, that medicating it was the best thing for me. And I'm not saying it works for everybody, but it worked for me. And don't be hesitant to take that step. Your body is going through a lot. You are facing a lot of stuff. And so
medicating, it's stressful.
It is stressful as hell. Like, and I remember I was laying in, like, the moment where I was like, okay, I got to talk to somebody. I was laying in bed. And I remember, like, thinking back about when I first heard about COVID on the news. And I was like, I should have known about this. You know, like, I was, like, trying to, like, rationalize how I could have helped save my home from COVID. Like, it was just, it was some wild shit. And so it was just like, you know what, Erica, you have to take a step back and get the help you need. And so I was very happy that I did, because that helped me get through the rest of it. Like, it has really, I know my son is just like, I don't know what happened, but thank you, because I drove him crazy.
I'm sure. Now, throughout this, you've talked about many instances of like support, not only from your doctors, I mean, your work family, you know, coming around you, praying over you, you know, allowing that space. But also, I know that you're a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and I'm a Greek too. So I know during my diagnoses, both times, the Noops were there. The Noops were the support. How were the Deltas?
So I will say this.
You know, your line sisters, because
2 greatest decisions in life: Howard University and Delta Sigma Theta. Like, when you go through something like this, like, it is amazing. I feel bad for people that are like, oh, I really got to see who was there and who wasn't there. I never had a moment where there was someone who wasn't there. It was like everybody was there, and it was a true blessing. Like one day I was sitting at home, and one of my sorors from '96, she literally rang my doorbell and was like, "Hey," and I don't do pop-ups. She was like, "Hey, I just want to make sure your son like recognizes me and meets me. So if I got to pick him up from school, or like it was just like,
wow.
Whoa, just meals. I didn't have to worry about meals. I didn't have to. I literally like
speechless right now. That's the
and you can tell I'm not a speechless type of gal, but the amount of support that I receive from line sisters, from sorors, like just, I was to this, literally the other day I got a gift and I opened up my mail, I got a gift. I didn't know who the hell it came from. Like it has just been, I am speechless and beside myself in the way that people have shown up for me. I have truly, utterly been blessed. Like if I talk about it too long, I'm gonna cry because it has been
let it out. No,
it has been amazing the amount of support that I've received from people. Like I can't even put it into words. Like I just stopped paying for Uber Eats. Like just started paying for Uber Eats. Like and I got diagnosed back in December. I get a random cash app with $1,000 from such and such line sent you this, like, cause they want to make sure you're okay. Or I had a group of women, they paid for someone to come clean my house every day for 8 weeks. Jeez. We had to stop because of COVID. It was just like the amount of love and support was life-changing. And also it has made me think about how I show up for people. It made me think about like, well, damn, this was helpful. I had a homegirl, she sent me 2 books of stamps like I was in jail. But it was just like, yo, I know you're going to be sending out a bunch of thank you cards. Here's some stamps. Just little things you don't even think about. I have a huge dog. You probably hear him snoring in the background. So sorry, Lauren. But they paid for somebody to come walk my dog. The night before my surgery, there was this big ass Zoom call with folks praying for me. And like I said, my family is in Missouri. It's just me, my younger brother, and my son here in the DC area. And my mother passed away a while back, and so my aunt came to stay with me. And they think you just all alone, and it was like homecoming at the damn hospital after surgery. Like, and after surgery, it's surgery. You can't have a bunch of folks up in your room.
Nope.
They were like, look, we're going to tag team. I remember right after surgery, this is TMI, but I'm a TMI kind of gal. Right after surgery, you know how they tell you can't eat all day? Yeah. So I get out of surgery. I am hungry as hell. So I'm like, I need some food right now.
Right.
They're feeding me. One of my girlfriends is feeding me. And after surgery, you still have all this gas and stuff. And so I'm like, eating. She leaves, another girlfriend shows up, and I literally just like vomited all over her. Just like, yeah. And she's like, it's okay. My aunt was like,
no, it's not.
Just vomited over these people. But that was just the love. Like, that was just the love. Like, it is just, I cannot put into words how blessed I have been to have such an amazing support group, because I would not have had this kind of, I don't think I would have done as well as I did had I not had that support. And then when COVID happened, we couldn't see each other. So like, everybody, their last day of chemo is like, we would have been on somebody's beach, but we couldn't. So my girlfriends literally were like, how are we going to make this a big deal for Erica from home? And so they did the hashtag EE chemo and fancy and chemo free, EE fancy and chemo free. And they took over the internet. Like,
no, when I say they took over the internet. I felt bad. I couldn't find a tuxedo and get jazzy with everyone. And it wasn't just your line sisters, it was other people that just kind of joined
Yeah.
the movement, and that hashtag went viral. So I was just like,
Yeah.
wow.
So part of the hashtag, everyone, because it was the middle of COVID, so no one was dressing up or going anywhere. So everyone like put on their nicest clothes, sequins, full face of makeup, and then just recorded a message for me. And it was just the most beautiful, loving thing, especially because it's like, I know you got on sweatpants underneath that, but you really went out to show me that you really cared about me. It was just, I was speechless, absolutely speechless. So I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. So then
You're
after
good.
chemo, I did my second step, reconstruction. So I had to wait about 2-3 weeks just for my numbers to kind of bounce back a little bit. And they took out my Capri Sun pouches and gave me my forever 20-year boobies. So I say all the time, I'm gonna be an old 90-year-old lady. I'm having the titties of a 20-year-old. They don't just...
So I want to ask you, so now you have this podcast called Turn On, right? And now you have reconstructed, tatas.
Yes.
What's the twist now? Now that you see what I'm saying, you have this podcast, it's about, sex, turn on, things like that. And now you've been reconstructed, you have, breast of a 20-year-old and things of that nature. How does that intertwine with, your podcast in a different light?
So, okay, a few things. Just to rewind a bit. So my podcast is called The Turn On. And each week we read a piece of erotica that's written by a Black woman. So we center our podcast around Black women and Black femmes. Love the guys, love the other people of color, love whites. But this is a space for Black women and femmes. So you're more than welcome to listen. We love you. But this is who it's for. And so each week we talk about our sex lives. So like, we had an episode, one of our first episodes, we read a story about BDSM, and then we had someone who was really active in the BDSM community come in and discuss it, and we talked about our, when do we, do dominant and submissive roles in the bedroom and that kind of thing. And so going through a traumatic event that does so much with changing your body and how it looks. Yeah. It was definitely interesting. I also in this period started doing work as a sex educator. And so I'm adding a piece about like breast cancer and just trauma to it, because I think that you change so much. I was blessed to like love my shit. Like I said before, my love language is nudes. I show them all. Like, I like them. I like showing them. I remember right before my surgery, I sent all my line sisters the pictures of the old ones. They was like, bitch, I'm at Bible study and I get your titties in the text message. Like, really?
Crazy.
But nonetheless, so it has just going through so much with my body, not only, changing my breast and losing my hair, losing my eyelashes, losing my pubes, TMI. It has been a huge difference. Thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't had any of the, sexual desire changes that come with some of the medicines and stuff. Yeah. But it has definitely colored the way that I look at relationships, at my body. Also, I kind of already had a fuck it kind of attitude, but like now I said, look, ain't nothing stopping me now. Like I look cancer in the eye and was like, nah, bitch. So it's just balls to the wall,
Say less. So I appreciate you sharing that, because it's one of those things where if you haven't gone through cancer, you don't know how it feels to just say like, I got to live life to the fullest. I can't wait. I have to put things in action. And that's a different mentality, especially as you survive something that most people don't survive from, especially at our age, and one thing for me, I know my faith grew so much when I was going through this, and and I think I shared this, during, our launches, that like I had my own like a little ritual where, I had my alone time. I want to ask you, going through, chemo, radiation, COVID, being a single mother and raising your child. How was your faith? Did it grow? And if so, what can you share with the people that are listening about how important your faith is?
It's been everything. So I will say that it has been this has been a tough time. And not even, what's crazy is like I went through so much shit before cancer that by the time I got to cancer, I was like, okay, this is something that has to happen, but we're gonna be good. Like I was married, and my ex-husband and I like were madly in love, and the relationship the marriage was no longer serving either of us. And although we both knew that it was time for our marriage to end, it still hurt. And that was a very difficult time. I lost my mother. I went through miscarriages. I lost my grandmother. And so by the time cancer came along, I was like, oh, God's got me. Like, I know for a fact he's got me because he delivered me through all of this.
Yep.
So it's just, I feel like everything that happened before that was leading up to me having to deal with cancer. And so it just made me so I just knew, like, not at one point in this entire process did I think I wasn't going to be here for my son, because I knew that God delivered me through like gut-wrenching miscarriages, the ending of a really great marriage, losing my mother and my grandmother, who was like my best friend, So by the time I got to cancer, it was like, all right, God, come on. Like, I can do it all with you. Like, I know that I'm going to get through this. And I say this all the time, but I've literally felt the hand of God moving things and shifting things. When I was right before I got diagnosed, I sold my house and moved into the house that I'm currently in. Right. And at the time, I moved into the house thinking like, oh, this will be dope. I'll just, my best friend lives upstairs. It's a 2-unit house. I was like, my best friend lives upstairs. She's a single mom. Her daughter and my son get along great. This will be great. Not even realizing that this was God preparing me for the fact that I'd be going through a really tough time and need somebody upstairs that can drive me to every appointment, that can sit with me.
Wow.
My best friend, she knew that she does freelance. She's a writer and author. And she had been saying for so long, like, she was working a 9 to 5. She's like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. It's just time for me to go. It's time for me to go. Her last day at that job was literally like a week after my surgery, so that she could freelance and literally sit at the foot of my bed to make sure I was taking my medicines and doing, like, it's amazing how you think one thing is happening for a reason, but it's just God lining things up and shifting things and making things.
He works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. And I'm like, so I say all this, like, and now I'm on some like wild shit. Why? Because I'm like, you know what? If God put this on my heart to do, then he gonna make this shit happen. Like, I've literally been just stepping out on faith, not knowing where this next step is gonna come, what's gonna happen, what's gonna make this next step happen. And even if I fall, I'm like, I'm gonna fall into something better, because I know for a fact that I have a pure heart, I have pure intentions, and God is gonna guide me and deliver me from whatever the fuck the world has for me.
Man, that's so amazing. So I have this question for you, and I'm also a parent. I have a lovely, beautiful daughter, and so
we love your baby.
I do. That's my boo. That's my boo. What would you tell your younger self, knowing that all the stuff that you've gone through, especially with cancer? What would you tell your younger self if you went back in time and met your younger self, maybe 15? What would you tell her?
Stay away from the ain't shit boys. No. Just trust yourself, trust your gut. Just keep a pure heart and pure intentions, and everything will fall in place. You will be okay. You will be okay, no matter how dark. And sometimes I feel bad because I'm talking to my friends and I feel like I talk like a Hallmark card, because it's just like, but right. I truly believe, like, at the end of the day, if shit ain't right, it ain't over. Like, it's gonna be, you will be okay in the end, Erica. You will be fine. So even if it's tough, you might feel like this is the darkest time, you're going to be okay. You will be okay.
Amen. Amen to that. So, here at Positive Deposits, we always ask our guests to drop at least 3. Now, some people have dropped 4, some people are 2, but just 3 words of encouragement, positive deposits to help them get through something like you've gone through, or just any other type of cancer. So what are 3 words of advice, positive deposits, that you would give to someone that's, experiencing cancer, breast cancer? What would those 3 be?
Should I?
And if you have more,
Yeah,
but
I can't, you can tell I can't just sum stuff up in just a few
okay,
words.
well,
No, okay, I will say that shit gets tough. You do not have to, you don't have to be strong all the time.
That's a good one.
But you have this community. I didn't even touch on this. Like when I got diagnosed, I found this community of women that had breast cancer. And I didn't have to be strong, because I knew if I was weak, they was going to hold me up, So
Nice. Just
find your community. Shit, if you ain't got one, call me. We'll put my contact information, You don't always have to be strong, but you're going to make it through it. And you might come out that bitch on the other side, bandaged, looking like the Civil War wounded, but you will come out of it. You will be good. And you will have your,
have your community, no question.
I wish I had some beautiful, succinct, nah,
No.
you're good.
Yeah. So have your community, have that body of people that can uplift you.
Have your community. Yes.
Have your, well, yeah, it's been a pleasure, and it's been great talking to you. You're truly an inspiration. I'm sorry, I have to.
It sounds weird because I'm like, you, but okay, thanks.
Yeah, I watch your just your journey, and it's so inspiring. I loved how you made it personal, and you just talked to everyone that was viewing, and so you are always a part of the Positive Deposit family. You already know that.
Because I ain't going nowhere. Like, you invited me in, I'm like a vampire, bruh. You let me in, I ain't going nowhere.
And so as we come to a close, where can people find you? Where can we, if women that want to reach out to you, to touch and talk about, Turn On podcast, or just, that support, okay. How can they find you?
So my podcast is the Turn On Podcast. That's our handle on Instagram. On Twitter, it's the Turn On Pod. Our website is www.turnonpodcast.com. Right now we're still a small shop, so I am managing the email accounts, either being my co-host. So hit me up there, and I'd be more than happy. Like I said, I was blessed at every turn, and so I would love to be a blessing to someone else.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Erica, for being a guest on the show. It was an amazing journey, but just story. I'm laughing. It's been a pleasure. And so for those that are listening, catch this episode on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and our YouTube channel, because here we transform minds and change lives. And don't forget, go to the website, www.positivedeposits.org. Hit that donation button, because
buy some merch. Wait, is the merch still available?
Oh yeah,
buy some merch. I was out my t-shirt and my mask the other day.
Yeah, buy the merch, either donate, and also too, just this plug that we are nationally partnership with the Orally Cancer Foundation. So text ORA, ORA 3272-71777. And so with that being said, thank you, Erica.
Thank you for having me. This was a pleasure. This was dope. I'm so happy to be a part of the family.
All right, and it's a wrap.